Hi everyone, welcome back to another edition of my videos. Today I've got another classical game analysis for you. This particular one was played in the 4NCL, which I'm currently competing in with my club that I play for. This was an interesting game because I didn't have a huge amount of time to prepare for my opponents. With the 4NCL, you only find out your pairings an hour before, and of course I was being a bit stupid. I decided to try and prepare for the opponent I thought I was going to have, and then when he was not paired against me, or even was going up against me at all, I then had a bit of a shock as to, oh my gosh, I need to now completely prepare something different. I didn't have, as I said, I didn't have much time to prepare for him. In fact, I think I had about 30 minutes to try and find opening against him, but in actual fact he didn't play the opening that as well as I would have liked, and we had a completely weird position after the first few moves. So in any case, let's have a look at the game. As I say, I was playing on the white sides. My opponent was playing as black. The game started with e4, c5, d4, c takes d, and c3. So I was going into my famed smith-morra gambits, which you all know and love, and know that I like playing this particular variation. Now I've seen on his games he had played this particular variation, I think maybe a small handful of times, so not particularly often. He had actually normally just captured here and then continued the game relatively normally, and I thought that was what we were going to go for. I thought that would be the variation that we would have on the game. In actual fact, my opponent played very oddly. He played the move e5, which is probably the first small inaccuracy of the game. It is a very odd move. I think the challenge with the move e5, particularly when you're playing in the smith-morra, is quite often white will have some pressure on this f7 square. Now, by playing e5 so early, black is kind of fixed to this particular weakness now on f7. Normally you see the pawn come to maybe e6, which kind of blunts off this bishop when it goes to this particular diagonal. There was another problem about this move as well, and quite simply I could have, if I wanted to, just captured here, and we enter into this like weird looking sort of Scotch game where black is going to be left with this isolated pawn on d7, and white should be able to round up this pawn. Although black can make white's life very difficult here. You could just pile on a load of pieces onto this pawn. So it's perhaps not as easy as I maybe would have thought it would be, but in any case, I think the challenge for black is he's got this very weak pawn now on d7, so you have to find a way to try and get this pawn not so weak if you can. But anyway, going back, going into the position. So instead of this, though, I decided to play knight to f3. So this basically, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to provoke him into capturing here. So we kind of go into some sort of smith-morra, and I knew I'd be happy because this pawn is on e5, it's not on e6, so it just gives me better scope with my bishop. Knight to c6, I put my bishop to c4, so now aiming on this f7 square. The bishop came to e7, which is a bit of an odd move. I guess it kind of plays, black's position is trying to be a bit as compact as possible. It looks a little bit like a sort of Hungarian defense. But the problem with this bishop is it's not particularly actively placed. It's going to be in a very passive position very soon once this knight comes to f6. So here I fought for some time. I spent quite a bit of time on this position trying to work out what to do next. And I was thinking about playing a move queen to b3. And I fought for quite some time here. I was trying to sort of analyse the position, see if it was any good. The problem is, after I play this move, so it looks very good. I'm hitting this pawn, and it looks admittedly quite difficult to defend. I mean, if black was to play his knight here, I could just chop this off, and then I get this very good position. The problem for me, though, is after this move, black's got a very crafty way to defend this. It's pretty much the only move he can play to sort of get an edge in this position, and that's the move knight to a5. And so he's now forking both my pieces. So I could still go for this attack with bishop takes on f7, but after the king moves to f8, there really isn't anything for black. I mean, I thought for a while about, do I want to play my queen to d5, let's say. But after this, knight to f6 is a really strong move, and well, I've got nowhere to put my queen now. So it's then defending this bishop. So in actual fact, I'd have to play a move like, let's say, capturing here as one example, and then the king captures. And okay, it looks interesting. I'm down 2 pawns, and the king's very unsafe, but I just haven't got enough firepower to really cause this king any considerable problems. So so I kind of I decided against this variation. I just thought, no, it didn't look right in my head when I was trying to play it out. So we didn't go for that in the end. So instead, I just thought I'll keep it simple. I now decided to try and go for this Scotch position. Bear in mind, remember, I've got this isolated pawn, and I took the pawn, so I recovered the material. And I've got a kind of favourable Scotch, as I say, his pawn is isolated, his bishop's not on a great square here. And now my opponent's played a very odd move. He put bishop to b5, so he kind of wastes a move playing this. So he's now spent 2 tempo just giving me a check. And I was quite happy to see this. I just developed my knights. I thought this was absolutely fine. His queen came to f6. Now, again, a very odd move. I would have thought he would want to develop his knight maybe to a good square. And now here, I missed a very strong tactic in this position. I'll see if you can try and spot it. But if you for those familiar with the Scotch game, there is one variation called the Steinitz Variation in the Scotch game, where black plays this very odd-looking queen to h4. There's a variation in it that's very good against this particular idea, and I wonder if you can spot it in your own games. So see if you can spot the next move. I'll give you a few minutes to try and see if you can get it. Okay, so the move is knight to b5. Really nice idea. So the point is, I'm now hitting this c7 square, so I'm threatening to fork in this position. Now, black could decide to just take my knight here, but after take back, b takes on c3. Well, black's got a bit of a problem here. If he tries to now defend this threat, white is going to just castle here, and after, let's say, knight g to e7, I'm going to be able to plonk this knight into d6. It's a very, very powerful knight. I'm hitting now this f7 square. If, let's say, he defends it with his rook, as one example. I mean, I'm just all over black in this position. I've got my king nice and safe. His king is stuck in the center. It's positionally bust for black here. It's very difficult to find a good move. And bear in mind as well, I've taken advantage of this isolated pawn. I've got a piece plonked in front of it. It's just a really, really horrible position for him to play in. So just an example, something like this would be absolutely horrible for black. Instead of this, there's not really a whole lot better here for black to do. He could maybe play his knight here, but again, I can just throw in the check. If the king comes to d8, I can then either taking the rook, which looks okay, but an even better move here is knights to d5, because after there's this capture and bishop captures, I've still got a very nice position here. I'm really not really a whole lot of danger. This pawn is still really, really weak, and this king is now no longer able to castle. So quite a nice little variation that I missed there. But I think, to be fair, what I played was absolutely fine as well. Here I just developed my bishop. I think this is absolutely good. This is fine. I'm getting another piece developed. And, I'm now defending this knight twice now. So I thought this was absolutely fine as well. His knight came to h6. So again, some really, really odd moves early on from my opponents. So now I castled. And he castled. And here I found a really, really nice move. and it's probably something, I don't know if you were able to spot it, but by castling now, I've given a bit of freedom to my knight on c3. So I was very happy to play this move, knight to d5, and notice here black is in this really horrible fork, and it's very difficult for him to save a piece here. Bear in mind, I'm threatening just to take this knight, removing the defender of this bishop, and then capturing with my other knights. So here he has to do something with the queen. He puts the queen on h4, trying to maybe create, I don't know, a threat on h2. Maybe quite a blunt threat, but something that I should be able to easily defend, but still a threat nonetheless. I took his knights, so now removing the defender of the bishop, he now put his bishop onto d6. So now he's going for this very cheapo checkmate in one here on h2. But I just defend this calmly with g3. I thought this was absolutely fine. I can, this blocks the checkmate straight away. His queen comes to h3, so maybe he's thinking about coming with his knight to g4 and still trying to do checkmate. But here I just calculated this out. I thought this was absolutely fine for me. I put my knight c to e7 with check. So now I save my knight, and I'm now just up a knight in this position. So I thought this was pretty good for me. His king moved to h8. I now swapped off this knight. I thought this is absolutely fine. Just get rid of the threats. I'm already up in this position, so I was quite happy to do a move like this. His queen took on h6, and I did consider maybe capturing this bishop, but I thought actually this is just going to unlock his rook. And my knight's really well placed. His bishop here is terrible, so I don't want to give up this good knight for this really, really bad bishop. So here I decided to put my knight onto f5. I'm now doing another fork here, and well, it's a pretty horrible position for black now. We continued on. His queen came to g6. I took his bishop off. He took back with the queen, and now I put my queen onto h5. I'm trying to deliver my own sort of cheapo threats against his pawn here. Here he played g6. I put my queen onto h6, so I'm now going to be trying to do my own checkmating ideas, maybe at some point with the knight coming here and just delivering an easy checkmate on h7. So the game didn't go on too much longer. I'll show you the rest of the moves. The rook came to h8. I put my rook to d1, so I was trying to kind of create threats here. And here there was an interesting idea that I had in this position, and I was hoping maybe my opponent might fall for it. In this position, if he takes this pawn, which looks really, really good, the problem for black here is I've got the move knight to f6, and well, it's a really, really horrible threat. If he takes this queen, would you believe it? There's mate and one on f8, and I was really hoping that might happen. And well, anything else just doesn't work here. He's got to somehow parry this threat of just simply queen takes on h7, which he just hasn't got any adequate response here. In fact, the computer move just goes rook here, I take here. And, I think just a few computer checks to stop the mate here. So that was, I was ashamed that didn't happen. In the actual game, he just put his queen to e5, which again is absolutely fine for me. I put my knight to f4, so I'm now creating some more threats. The bishop taking here, and then capturing with my knights, which would have been pretty bad for black. Here he played d5. Trying to get his bishop, but I don't really quite understand this move as I just developed my bishop. He put his bishop here, I took here. And what's really annoying for black here is he has to take with his rook, which he does. The problem is if he takes with the pawn, I have a really nice move here, just knight takes, and this is just terrible for black. You'll notice that the queen is now hanging. He can't take back. He's in check. It's just a terrible position. After a move like rook, king to g8. Interestingly enough, there's a better mating idea with rook to d7, which you wouldn't believe. But again, this just shows the power of our pieces. He can't capture this, obviously, because I just throw in a mate in 2 now. So really, really nasty position for black to be in here. In any case, going back to the actual game, he took back the rook, I took back with my knight. So I'm now just up 6 points in material. I'm up basically a clear rook and a pawn. And it's a pretty terrible position for him to be in. So first I just now decided to double up my rooks on d4. He put his rook onto c8. I had a simple plan here. I'm just going to try and deliver a back row mate along here. He put his queen to f6 to try and stop this idea. But here I put my rook to d7. He put his queen to e7. I then put my rook onto d7. Queen came back, and a nice finishing idea here. I played the move e5 here, so now deflecting this queen away from the defense of this square. He's got no way of stopping this, so he put his queen to g7 here, trying to exchange queens, but I just threw in a check. And wow, it was a pretty terrible position. The game didn't go up much longer than this. It was pretty decided now. So just show you how I kind of mopped up in the end. I just started to take a few of his pawns, and then push this pawn. He actually started to run his king up, and after he played this, I realised, oh, actually, I've just got a nice mate and one here. So I play queen to f4. This is checkmate in this position. So yeah, quite a weird game. It was a shame my opponent kind of played some very odd moves, very odd-looking moves, and very mysterious-looking moves, I should say. But I was able to manage to win in this game, and I was able to get a nice checkmate in the end. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this game. Stay tuned for some more of my classical game analysis, where I'll be posting more of my games very soon. Take care. Bye.